Welcome to your lesson of the day, and today it's a bit of a dealer's choice, it's a viewer's choice, because yesterday I was asked, hey, can you do a video on recovering from mistakes? So if you're a human being, then you've made mistakes. If you're a trader, then you've made mistakes. If you are a politician, you've never made a mistake in your life, and it's always somebody else's fault. But let's be real for a second, they're going to happen to you. And whether it's a fat finger or taking a trade that wasn't in your plan, or maybe taking a trade that didn't quite get to your level but you got FOMO, the first thing you've got to do is determine what type of mistake it is. And I go back to something a coach once told me in baseball that it really stuck with me, is did you make a physical mistake or did you make a mental mistake? Because there's a very big difference between a physical mistake and a mental mistake. And in the sports realm, let's think of it like this. Like, did you have good position on a ground ball and you just booted it? Did you do everything right but you just happened to shank a layup, or you just missed a foul shot? Like, those are just physical mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Those are going to happen. And the good thing about that is you can get rid of them with repetition and practice and that sort of a thing. Mental mistakes are different, because mental mistakes are the kinds of things that are likely to pile on and continue to happen to you in the future, and it's a little bit more difficult, A, to recover from them, and B, to try to eliminate them in the future. It's going to take a little bit more work. You want to not miss layups? All you got to do is practice layups. I mean, like I said, if I booted a ground ball, all I had to do was take a few extra grounders after every single practice, and you get better with your form and your technique. As a sprinter, this was one of those things that I didn't realize until I had some proper coaching. Like, the mental mistake I would make was simply not being laser focused in my lane and looking at things around me and reacting to other people when the only thing that mattered was my technique. And I realized if I lose a race or don't have a good time I like, the only thing I should care about is whether the phases of my race were good. Like, are you kidding me? Did I have a good start? Did I have a good drive phase? And then you partition, so on and so forth. So, look, if you have a physical mistake, the worst one that I think you can make would be the fat finger error, right? That is by far the biggest mistake a trader can make that is going to be physical. That is when you key in the wrong price, you key in the wrong amount of shares, or let's just say you punch into the wrong stock. Like, it's just, you've done something that's that egregious. The easy rule for that is, do not try to make that trade work. Now, unless you have literally punched into so many shares that liquidity is a ridiculous concern relative to what is there, then just get out. There's nothing you don't try to make that trade good or turn it into a winner. Just get out. I'll give you an example. I didn't fat finger anything today, so I can't give you a chart of what it would look like if I had fat fingered, because I didn't do one. But I can give you an idea of what can happen if you have made a fat figure, because the timing of this trade is absolutely perfect. I happen to go long off VWAP and Meta. You can see that when I got out, it proceeded to absolutely tank. Now try to imagine that I took this break at 519 and accidentally put a couple of extra zeros on it. If I didn't want those shares and I try to make it work, this goes from, I just took a hit on a regular trade for a few extra shares, to your entire week or month is ruined. Now, I've seen traders in this spot before, and I've seen maybe twice, actually, where it literally ended a trader's career, not simply getting out. You eat the loss. It might be your worst loss of the day. It might even be your worst loss of the week if you just cover a fat finger right away. But if you don't, your trading career and your account could get absolutely blown up. So that's the first thing. Just get out of it right away. It's a similar thing. If you punch into the wrong stock, you don't want to be in it, just get out. If you punch into too many shares, get out the amount that you didn't want to be into. That's what it's all about. It's just a physical mistake. Now, if you make a mental mistake, it's a little bit different from that. Because a mental mistake, an example of that might be getting absolute FOMO for something that you've never seen before. Right? So a mental mistake is going away from, an example would be going away from your rules in the moment, I should say, like when Bitcoin failed 70,000 today. And this happened on IBIT. And the bottom trader in me, looking to buy bottoms, immediately was like, oh, we're gonna buy the dip. I see somebody on the bid in front of a support level, boom, bid enter, let's go. Oh, there's more support down here, bid enter. Wait a minute, we're instantly getting stopped out. It's like, what am I doing here? Okay, so a mental mistake is throwing rules out the window for a bit of FOMO in that situation. What can you do about that? If you are not the type of trader that can calm yourself down before making the next move, sometimes it's best to just get up, take a refresher, you know you just did something insane, don't try to jump back into it. Now, if you are somebody that, myself, I'm probably more risk averse on the trading scale, so I keep tighter stops and that kind of a thing. So for me, the first thing I try to do is, okay, can I immediately assess what I did wrong? Yes, I can. I just tried to buy without any reason for buying. Okay, is there a reason that I should be trying to trade this? Absolutely yes. When things calm down, it's panic. So I start asking a couple of questions for myself. And then I go to immediately change my approach, which is if I was blindly getting in on the way down and giving it too wide of a stop, okay, let's temper things. I can either use less shares or I can have tighter stops. Let's go with the tighter stop. So what I end up doing here after getting rinsed on IBIT is being a little bit more patient and come back to the chart for a second because it's all about the trading. I then suddenly wait for a more obvious thing to set up. Okay, well, if I actually get a bounce off a key level, go for an actual long off 39, tight to 39, get my bounce, and get out with a tight stop. Then, okay, well, that got a win. I had to stop out for some of it. But then can I also remain disciplined and wait for it to get down to the other bottom? Bounces off the bottom, take the long and get out. So if you have it in your toolbox to do that, fair enough. Not everybody's gonna be like that. Some people might take that hit and need to walk away. For myself, I'm going to immediately reassess, tighten up my stops in that situation or use less shares if I want to continue trading that. Because a mental mistake like FOMO and then revenge trading is gonna get you into a lot of trouble. So a couple of things you can do there. I don't think there's anything wrong with getting up and taking a walk and taking a breath. But if you can't figure out right away, what did I do wrong? What was the mistake I made? Then give yourself time to figure that out before you jump into the next trade, especially on the same thing. Now, I know lots of traders who can go from, oh, I made a mistake on IBIT, oh, but I've got a setup on a trending stock like an Apple today, that doesn't affect it. I just stop trading IBIT, go over to Apple, that's working. That's perfectly fine too. But you need to recognize what that mistake was if it was a mental one. Be able to figure it out for yourself before you start putting more risk in the same type of thing. If it's a physical mistake, it's easy for practice. Practice your keystrokes. I mean, practice gaming. You actually get better and more accurate with your keystrokes that way as well. There's lots of things that you can do. But when it's a mental mistake, you've got to identify the problem. And if you don't identify what that problem is, be honest with yourself about it, then you don't want to be jumping right back into that next trade. So that's your real deal. That's your lesson today. Identify, is it a physical mistake? Is it a mental mistake? And then you can make your approach as to what is going to be next. Because nobody ever wants to see, I mean, I don't know anybody that's like this, that wants to see other traders lose or that wants to see someone blow up their account. I will never forget this when a trader, and you know what, I'm going to digress because I will never say any names, but I will never forget the moment when a trader fat-fingered into a position and had the option to get out, refused to get out, and the next day it ended their career. And this was a successful trader who was profitable for over a decade. For over a decade, and it all ended, and he just wouldn't take that hit, and it would have been relatively a small hit. Maybe 2 or 3 days of what would be a normal day for him. So it's a painful thing to see, and that was a physical mistake. Imagine if it was a mental mistake and you're repeating it every single day. So do your best, try to mitigate those mistakes. If you can, get better. You're never gonna change who you are, you're not gonna be perfect, but you can always look to grow each and every day as a person, each and every day as a trader. That's your lesson of the day. Try to improve and mitigate those mistakes.